You ever walk into a room and instantly feel something's off? Like the air itself is holding its breath? That's exactly what I felt the night everything started. Francis, my husband of 7 years, was sitting at the kitchen table, his laptop open, his face lit blue by the screen. He didn't notice me at first. Normally, Francis would close the lid the second I walked in, smile at me, maybe crack a joke about me sneaking up on him. But not this time. This time he froze. Just long enough for me to notice. Just long enough to plant that first seed of doubt in my mind. I asked, "What are you working on?" "Casual. Light." I didn't want to sound suspicious, even though suddenly I was. He shut the laptop slowly, like he was hiding a secret but didn't want me to see the panic on his face. "Just work stuff," he said. Work stuff. Right. Francis hadn't been employed for 3 months, ever since the investment firm let him go. He'd been pretending to look for jobs, sending resumes, going to so-called interviews. But now, I wondered if work stuff was just another lie in a string of them. I let it go, or at least pretended to. But that night, lying in bed next to him, I couldn't sleep. His breathing was even, steady. Mine was not. My mind kept circling back to that look on his face, that pause. What was he hiding? The next morning, my father-in-law, John, dropped by. John's one of those men who always seems to know more than he lets on. He has these piercing gray eyes that could cut right through you. He poured himself a coffee in my kitchen like he owned the place and asked, "Everything okay with you two?" It was such a simple question, but it stopped me cold. "Why?" I asked. John studied me over the rim of his mug. "Because you don't look okay." And that's when he told me something that sent a chill straight down my spine. "Francis has been acting strange with me too," John said. "Asking questions about the deed to this apartment. Asking if your name's on the savings accounts. Almost like he's preparing something." My heart started pounding so loud I was sure John could hear it. The deed. The savings. Everything Francis and I had built together. Why would he be asking about that? I tried to brush it off, but John didn't let me. "Jessica," he said, his voice low and serious, "I know my son. He gets desperate when money's involved. Don't trust him blindly." That night, while Francis was in the shower, I sat down at his laptop. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely type his password, but after 3 guesses, I got it. What I found made my stomach flip. Emails. Flights booked under 2 names, Francis and Kate. Kate. My younger sister. I opened the email, thinking maybe I was imagining things. Maybe it was just some glitch. But no. There it was, in black and white, a one-way ticket to Lisbon, Portugal. Departure in 2 weeks. I wanted to scream. Instead, I sat there frozen, staring at the screen. My own sister. The one I'd defended my whole life. The one I'd lent money to. The one who'd cried on my shoulder when her relationships fell apart. And Francis. The man I thought I knew better than anyone. Together. The sound of the shower shutting off snapped me back to reality. I slammed the laptop shut, shoved it back where it had been, and forced myself to breathe. When Francis walked into the room, towel around his waist, he smiled at me like nothing was wrong, like he wasn't planning to rip my life out from under me. I smiled back, but inside something shifted. I wasn't his blind, trusting wife anymore. Now, I was a woman on a mission. And I was going to find out exactly what Francis and Kate were planning, before they destroyed me completely. The moment I closed my eyes that night, all I saw was their names side by side on that plane ticket. Francis. Kate. Lisbon. My stomach churned, twisting into knots I couldn't untangle. I barely slept. Every time I drifted off, I jolted awake gasping, like I'd been shoved underwater. By morning, I was exhausted, but I couldn't let Francis see. He was already suspicious of me being suspicious, if that makes sense. At breakfast, he sat across from me, scrolling on his phone, eating toast like everything was fine. I watched him. The way his jaw moved as he chewed. The way his eyes flicked to me and then quickly away. He knew something was off too. I asked him, "What are you working on today?" He shrugged. Same as yesterday. Applying for jobs. Maybe meeting a friend for coffee. The lie slid so easily off his tongue. I almost admired it. Almost. I wanted to slam my fists on the table and scream, I know. I know about you and Kate. I know about the flights. I know you're trying to take everything. But I didn't. Not yet. I needed proof more than a plane ticket. If I confronted him too early, he'd just cover his tracks. So I played along. I smiled, cleared the dishes, kissed him goodbye at the door like the dutiful wife. Then, the second he left, I called John. He answered on the second ring. Jess? What's wrong? Do you have time to come over? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. It's urgent. John was at my door within the hour. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. I led him to the kitchen, sat him down, and told him everything about the emails, the plane tickets, the name on the booking. Kate. When I finished, John leaned back in his chair, his face pale. He rubbed his forehead with one hand, shaking his head slowly. I knew Francis was reckless, but this. I whispered, What do I do? John's eyes hardened. You don't panic. That's the first rule. Men like Francis, people like Francis, they count on you losing control. They want you rattled so they can play the victim. We need to outthink him. I repeated, surprised. John gave a humorless laugh. You think I'm going to let my son get away with this? He might be my blood, but if he's betraying you like this, then he's not the man I raised. I wanted to cry. Relief, fear, anger. It all swirled together until I felt like I might burst. At least I wasn't alone. Start looking for paperwork, John said firmly. Anything with your name missing from it. He can't sell this apartment or drain your savings without leaving a trail. If he forged your signature, we'll find it. His words lit a fire inside me. A plan. A direction. Something besides drowning in confusion. That afternoon, I tore through every drawer, every file cabinet, every stack of papers in our apartment. Bank statements. Insurance forms. Tax returns. And then, I found it. Tucked inside a manila envelope at the very bottom of a box labeled Old Utilities was a set of documents I'd never seen before. The deed to our apartment, signed, sealed, and stamped. Except my signature wasn't mine. It was close. Almost perfect. But the J curved differently, too sharp at the top. And the S didn't loop the way I always wrote it. I sat there on the floor, papers spread around me, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped them. He'd forged my signature. He was trying to sell the apartment out from under me. When John came back that evening, I showed him. He didn't say anything at first. He just stared at the papers like he was memorizing every detail. Finally, he muttered, He's already started. We don't have much time. I asked him, Should I go to the police? John shook his head. Not yet. Without the full picture, they'll just tell you it's a family matter. We need to catch him red-handed. Tie him to everything. The sale. The money. The trip with Kate. The trip with Kate. Just hearing it made my chest ache. My sister. How could she do this to me? That night, I pretended again. Pretended to cook dinner, laugh at Francis's half-hearted jokes, kiss him goodnight. Pretended I didn't know he was plotting to erase me. But in the dark, when he fell asleep, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. One thought pulsed through me like a drumbeat. If Francis and Kate think they can ruin me, they're about to find out just how wrong they are. The next morning, I stared at my phone for a long time before pressing dial. My thumb hovered, my chest tight. Calling Kate felt like stepping into enemy territory, though I couldn't let her know I saw her that way. Not yet. She answered on the second ring, her voice too chipper for 8 a.m. Jess. Oh my God, I was just thinking about you. That stung. The casual warmth, the fake sweetness. Now that I knew what she was planning, every word dripped with poison. Hey Katie, I said, forcing my voice steady. Thought I'd check in. Haven't seen you in a while. Oh, you know me. Busy, she said, laughing lightly. Work's been crazy. Work. She hadn't held a steady job in over a year. Already, I wanted to call her out. But I bit my tongue. If I pushed too hard, she'd retreat, and I needed her close. Instead, I said, Come by tonight. I'll cook. Just as sisters. Like old times. There was a pause on the line, barely a breath, but I heard it. Hesitation. Sure. Yeah. That sounds nice. When I hung up, my hands were clammy. My sister was lying to me. And worse, she wasn't even good at it. By the time Francis got home that evening, I was already simmering with nerves. "Kate's coming over for dinner," I told him casually, watching his reaction. His hand froze on the fridge handle. Just for a second, but I saw it. "Really?" he said, too flat, too careful. I replied, forcing a smile. "It's been a while." He nodded, plastering on a grin. "That'll be fun." Fun. My gut twisted. He was terrified. I spent the afternoon preparing everything. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, salad. A meal Kate couldn't resist, the kind she'd rave about to everyone. Cooking gave me something to focus on, but underneath, my nerves buzzed like live wires. When Kate arrived, she was radiant, dressed nicer than usual. Makeup done, hair curled. Like she was on her way to impress someone. She hugged me tightly, whispering, "Missed you, sis," in my ear. Her perfume was too strong, cloying, and I pulled back quickly. Dinner was strange. Francis and Kate exchanged glances when they thought I wasn't looking. Glances that weren't sisterly, weren't innocent. My stomach churned with every one of them. So I said sweetly, stabbing a piece of chicken with my fork, "Any travel plans coming up, Kate?" The fork in her hand clattered against her plate. She laughed quickly, but her eyes flicked to Francis, just for a split second. "Me? No. God, I wish. Can't afford it." Francis cleared his throat, drinking his wine too fast. "Same here. We're both stuck, huh?" The lie hung between us, thick and heavy. I forced a smile, but inside, rage boiled. After dinner, when Kate went to the bathroom, I leaned close to Francis, my voice low. "She looks nice tonight." His eyes darted toward the hallway where Kate had disappeared. "Yeah. Guess she dressed up for you." "For me?" "Sure." When Kate returned, I kept up the charade, but my mind was spinning. I needed proof. More than tickets, more than glances. Something undeniable. Later that night, after Kate left, Francis slipped into bed beside me. His arm brushed mine, but I couldn't stand the touch. I lay stiff, staring into the dark, wondering how long he'd been planning this. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Kate. "Thanks for dinner. Love you. Always." The words should have comforted me. Instead, they made bile rise in my throat. Love me? She was planning to disappear across the ocean with my husband. I showed John the text the next morning. He frowned, tapping the screen. "She's covering her tracks. Playing innocent. If you confront her now, she'll deny everything." "I know," I whispered. But watching them lie to my face, my throat tightened. "I don't know how much longer I can keep this up." John leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "You can and you will. Because right now, Jessica, they think they're winning. And that's exactly what we need. Let them feel comfortable. Let them slip. People always do." I nodded, swallowing hard. I had to play the long game. Pretend I was blind while I watched everything. But deep down, I was terrified. Terrified of how far Francis and Kate were willing to go. Terrified of how much worse this betrayal could get. And most of all, terrified that my own mother, if she found out, would take Kate's side. I don't know why, but the first person I wanted to talk to after that dinner wasn't John. It was my mother. Maybe part of me still believed she'd take one look at the truth and stand firmly by me. She was my mom, after all. And if anyone could see through Kate's act, it should have been her. But as I sat in my car outside her house, hands gripping the steering wheel, dread pressed down on me like a weight. Because I also knew the other truth. My mother had always favored Kate. It wasn't obvious, not really. Just little things. Kate got away with breaking curfew. Kate got extra money when she needed it. Kate's mistakes were brushed off as bad luck, while mine were poor choices. It was the kind of favoritism you try to shrug off, but it gnaws at you deep down. I rang the doorbell, and when Mom opened the door, she lit up. "Jessica." What a surprise. She hugged me tight, the scent of lavender clinging to her sweater. I stepped inside, my nerves rattling. The living room was the same as always. Family photos on the walls, the faint hum of the old grandfather clock. But suddenly, those smiling pictures of Kate and me felt like lies frozen in time. We sat down, and I tried to keep my voice calm. Mom, I need to talk to you about something. Something serious. She frowned, folding her hands in her lap. Is it Francis? The way she said his name made my heart thud. Yes. And Kate. At the mention of Kate, Mom straightened. Her eyebrows pinched. What about her? I took a breath, the words catching in my throat. They're involved. Together. Behind my back. I found emails and plane tickets. They're planning to leave. To take everything. Her eyes widened, but not in the way I expected. Not horror. Not shock. More like skepticism. Jessica, that's a serious accusation. I know, I said quickly. That's why I wouldn't say it unless I was sure. I've seen proof. Francis booked a one-way flight with her name on it. And I found forged papers. He's trying to sell the apartment without me. Mom shook her head slowly, as if trying to push the words out of her mind. No, that doesn't sound like Kate. She may be careless, but she wouldn't do that to you. I felt heat rising in my chest. I'm not making this up. I'm telling you, Mom, I've seen it. But she only pursed her lips, her eyes softening in that pitying way that made me want to scream. Jessica, maybe you misread something. Or maybe Francis is. I don't know, arranging a trip for you as a surprise? Kate could have been helping. A surprise? My voice cracked. With her? Do you even hear yourself? Her expression hardened, that subtle shift I knew too well. The one that meant I was being difficult. You've always been suspicious, Jessica. Always assuming the worst. Maybe your marriage is struggling, but don't drag Kate into it. She's been trying so hard lately. The words cut deeper than any knife. So you believe her over me? Silence. That silence was my answer. I stood abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. You know what? Forget it. I thought I could count on you. Clearly, I was wrong. Jessica, she started, but I was already at the door, my chest heaving, eyes burning. Back in the car, I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. Betrayal from Francis hurt. Betrayal from Kate cut even deeper. But from my own mother? That was something else entirely. When I told John later, he sighed heavily. I was afraid of this, he said. Your mom's blind when it comes to Kate. She always has been. Which means she's not an ally. If anything, she's a liability. The word liability stung, but it was true. If Mom sided with Kate, she could actually help them cover their tracks. And that thought chilled me more than anything. I rubbed my temples, exhausted. So it's just us now? Not just us, John said, his eyes narrowing. I might know someone who can help. Someone Francis won't see coming. I looked up sharply. Who? He hesitated, then said a name I hadn't heard in years. Valerie. The sound of it sent a shiver down my spine. Valerie, the woman I once thought of as trouble. And now, she was about to become my unlikely ally. The name dropped like a stone in my chest. Valerie. I hadn't heard it in years, and for good reason. She wasn't exactly someone I'd call a friend. In fact, once upon a time, I couldn't stand her. Valerie had a sharp tongue and a reputation for stirring up trouble. She was the kind of woman who seemed to thrive on chaos, loud, fearless, unapologetically blunt. Valerie, I repeated, narrowing my eyes at John. That Valerie? Why would she help me? John leaned back, folding his arms. Because she hates Francis more than you do. I blinked. That's a tall order. She's got history with him, John said grimly. Ugly history. He burned her once bad. Financially, emotionally, you name it. She never forgot it. If she finds out what he's pulling now, she won't just help you. She'll go for his throat. I hesitated. The thought of teaming up with someone I barely trusted made my skin crawl. But the thought of fighting Francis and Kate alone? That was worse. Where do I even find her? I asked. John smiled faintly, like he'd already planned for this. Leave that to me. Just be ready when she shows up. 3 days later, Valerie walked through my door like a storm wrapped in leather and perfume. She hadn't changed much. Still sharp cheekbones, still that dark red lipstick that made her look like she belonged in another era. Her heels clicked across the hardwood floor as she tossed her purse on the couch and looked me up and down. Well, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Jessica, the perfect little housewife. Didn't think I'd ever see you calling me for help. I bristled. This wasn't my idea. John said. Yeah, I know what John said. She smirked, flipping her hair back. Don't worry. I'm not here for you. I'm here for him. She didn't need to say Francis's name. The venom in her tone said it for her. John stepped in, closing the door behind her. We don't have time for games. Jess has evidence. Tickets, forged documents. Francis is trying to sell the apartment, drain the accounts, and run off with her sister. Valerie's eyes widened, then narrowed, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across her lips. Of course he is. Classic Francis. Always thinks he's the smartest one in the room. Always thinks women are too blind to see what he's doing. Her gaze snapped to me, sharp and appraising. So what's your plan, sweetheart? Cry and hope the cops care enough to listen. Anger flared in my chest. No, I shot back. I plan to stop him before he takes everything. I just don't know how yet. For the first time, Valerie's smirk softened into something else, respect, maybe. She pulled a chair out and sat down. Good. Because if you're serious, then you and we're going to play his game better than he ever could. I glanced at John, uneasy. Can we trust her? Valerie leaned forward, resting her elbows on her knees. Listen, Jess. I don't like you. Never did. But Francis? I loathe that man. If I can help ruin him, I'll do it with a smile. So yeah, you can trust me. For now. It wasn't comforting. But it was something. Over the next hour, Valerie laid out her knowledge of Francis, the way he operated, the shortcuts he always took, the lies he told to cover bigger lies. She even knew some of his old contacts. Shady ones. He's not just trying to sell your apartment, honey, she said, tapping her manicured nails against the table. If forged papers are involved, he's already got someone dangerous helping him. Forgery on that level? That's not a hobby. That's organized. The thought made my skin crawl. You're saying he's working with criminals? Valerie raised an eyebrow. Oh, he's been dipping in those waters for years. Trust me, I know. He just never told you because you were his shiny cover. His perfect little wife to make him look respectable. The words hit like a slap. My chest tightened. Had my entire marriage been a cover story? John reached over, squeezing my hand. Jessica, this is why we have to move fast. If Francis is in with people like that, he's not just betraying you. He's putting you in danger. I swallowed hard, nodding. Danger. The word echoed in my head, heavy and real. Valerie stood, straightening her jacket. I'll dig. I still have a few connections who'd love to tell me where Francis is crawling these days. Meanwhile, you, she pointed at me, need to keep playing the clueless wife. Smile, nod, cook his dinner. The more comfortable he feels, the sloppier he'll get. I hated it. Every second of pretending made my skin crawl. But Valerie was right. As she left, she leaned close to me, her perfume sharp and heady. When Francis falls, Jess, you'll get to watch. And trust me, it'll be worth it. The door shut behind her, and I sank into the couch, my hands trembling. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I had a fighting chance.